So welcome, 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 Jonathan. I so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity. And as always at SETC, we begin all things by acknowledging our creator, by acknowledging all the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, Jonathan, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Oh yeah, thank you, Victor. I'd love to do it, and it's so wonderful to be here with you and to celebrate in the work that you do. You're always so generous, giving praise to others, and I want to take a moment to do that for you because you really do amazing work. I come to you today from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and as you have started with acknowledgements, I'd like to acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging who have stewarded these beautiful lands for thousands of years, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Jonathan Fowlie. I am the Chief External Relations Officer at Vancity Credit Union. Vancity is Canada's largest credit union. We've been around for about 76 years, and my work here, I oversee our external relations and our impact strategy divisions. And so my work includes Vancity's commitment to climate action, including our work to reach net zero across all finance emissions by 2040. It also includes our work to advance our Indigenous banking strategy, which I'm thrilled to say we brought to our board just days ago, and are really excited to move forward. And our work around improving the financial health and resilience of our 560,000 members. Before joining Vancity, I actually was a journalist. I worked at the Globe and Mail in Toronto and the Vancouver Sun out here in beautiful British Columbia, and then found my way through a circuitous route of consulting and other jobs, but to the beautiful doors of Vancity Credit Union.
Incredible, incredible. Thank you so much for all that context and sharing the leadership that you've shown in multiple roles in the ecosystems and sectors. We give thanks. We appreciate you. So it's a perfect segue to my next question. What's inspiring you right now in your work? What's lighting your fire? What has you passionate? What has you curious?
Wait, we only have half an hour, Victor. How can you ask me that question? Honestly, Vancity was founded to provide financial access to those in Vancouver who are overlooked, those people who didn't have access to systems that would support them financially. We were the first financial institution in Canada to offer loans to women without having a male co-signer, and we were the first really to prioritize lending to working class and immigrant families. And for those who know Vancouver well, our office is on Main Street, and the properties that are east of here that now go for millions of dollars. Back in the day, financial institutions just wouldn't write loans on them because they were seen as too risky. It's the wrong side of the tracks. Vancity was founded to really say to that community, you matter, and we want to give you the kind of loans that everyone else has. And what inspires me today is carrying on that amazing tradition that started 76 years ago in the work that I'm doing. And really, I think what inspires me the most is that we get to every single day mobilize on behalf of and with our 560,000 members to take action in all those areas that I talked to you about. We are blazing a trail with our members and our community partners to try and get to net zero by 2040. That means, every loan that we hand out every single day, we're trying to figure out how to make sure that we reduce the carbon impact of the loans that we issue. We're trying to make sure in times of real crunch, people are feeling a real affordability crisis. How do we work with mobilize the power of our 560,000 members to make sure that people are walking through these days feeling like someone has their back? How are we, realizing the amazing opportunities that exist for Indigenous communities? Again, mobilizing the power, voice, and strength of our 560,000 members. I come into work every single day with the privilege of being able to do that, and it's I hope you can tell, it lights me up, and just the fact of the people I get to work with, the partners I get to work with, but also the cooperative community that we get to stand in the center of in this work is pretty amazing.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So my next question is, what challenges and barriers do you and your colleagues face? And what are some of the approaches and techniques that you use to overcome some of these challenges?
Yeah, and I might reframe challenges and barriers because I don't want it to sound as though, we're seeing this necessarily as a problem. I think, again, to go back to the history of Vancity, if we were just to walk through this work with a view of saying our biggest contribution is to reduce emissions and to achieve climate goals, I think we would fail. Getting to net zero is crucial. How we get there, I think, is the most important thing. It's the thing I think about the most. So when we think about challenges, I also see them as opportunities. And I think we look at, how do we confront the climate crisis in a way that remakes our economy in a more equitable way. I think that we're really looking at how to kind of mobilize capital so that we can get to a net zero economy, and that's great. But hey, let's do that in a way that looks at systemic barriers, that looks at people who've been left behind, and create those new opportunities with and for those people. Because really, I think when you look at the challenges that exist, not just outside our door, but for the employees of our cooperative. We are facing in Vancouver, we've long faced a housing crisis. We are facing significant affordability challenges. I think when we look at geopolitical instability, it touches us all at the core of our being to look at some of what's happening in the world, and that takes its toll. And so I think as Vancity greeting these challenges means understanding that that we really need to look at this in a holistic manner, and that the only way that we can step forward is if we put people first and we put people at the center of the decisions that we're making. And so I think the challenge really is these are challenging times. I think we all feel it. I think we're all feeling we're not really done with the health crisis that has overwhelmed so many of us. And I think for us, it's how do we use the tools and resources at our disposal to make sure that we are creating a hopeful and promising future for everyone. And I think to your question of how is the team and we working to overcome them, it sounds simple, but it really is. We got to put people at the center of every decision we make. And when you do that, I really think it goes back to what lights me up and what inspires me. To have a team of people that are doing that means that we're getting to answers that really bring people into the conversation, invite people into a conversation. Because frankly, if we're just talking about climate, or if we're just talking about reconciliation, so many people don't necessarily see themselves reflected in that, or they don't know how to take that meaningful step. And so I think it's on us to say, we're putting people at the center, we're inviting you in, and we're going to do this together.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your candor. I really appreciate all the sentiments and values that you shared, and for your transparency and authenticity. Always thankful. Thank you. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work at Vancity?
Yeah. I think I oversee a pretty broad portfolio that includes our impact strategy work, so climate, Indigenous banking, financial health and inclusion. I oversee our government relations and kind of, it's more of a policy shop, our communications, our marketing, our product development, and our visa line of business. And I think these really permeate through all, because what we've tried to do is locate all the levers that we need for systemic change within one area and really find the power of combining those together. And so when I look to the priorities of looking ahead, it is how do we reach our climate targets of being net zero by 2040? We've deliberately set a target that's 10 years ahead of Paris targets, because we see the urgency of the moment and we think we can get there because of, we don't lend to fossil fuel companies. We're innovative in the lending and decision making we're doing. we're clear-eyed in terms of the public policy advocacy we need to do, but it's going to be tough. And we're working every day at it. But I think that's one of the key priorities, and that really runs all the way through the products we offer, the community partnerships we form, and the way that we mobilize the voice of our members. But another one, and you know what, it really is on the same level, and that is financial health and inclusion. And we've made a commitment that we are measuring the financial health of our members based on what we know about them, working with them to really improve that their financial resilience. And those really do go together. You know, we did some research that found that partnered on some research that found that within the last 1 to 2 years, nearly a third of British Columbians reported being impacted by extreme weather events. And this isn't like, you know, my kid's soccer got rained out. This is like, you know, a heat dome that significantly impacted my health. This is flooding that wiped out my farm. This is forest fires that changed the way I'm living my life. And so that's a third of British Columbians who are reporting that. But then add to this that of that, more than half said that they are undergoing significant high financial stress. So think about that. That means that those who are being most affected by the impacts of climate have the least financial ability to adapt. So that's where these two things fit together. Like we need to reach our climate goals, but we also need to make sure that we are including everyone in this and making sure particularly that those with the least resources to adapt have the most advantage to do so. So that's top of mind for me. The two others that really come to the fore for me are our Indigenous banking strategy and really living. Vancity has since 2015 had held reconciliation as a core value. And I think we've lived that in so many ways. And I think the next step for us is how to really live that through the banking services that we provide. I think we do a good job now, but we can do a much better one. And then the piece that wraps all of this is, you know, I think when you ask people what's top of mind for them, I think a lot of people think about all of the issues that we just talked about. But at the end of the day, if you go out on the street, wherever you are, you where you are, me where I am, I think it's pretty clear that the answer that's going to come back from people is, I'm thinking about how I can put food on my table tonight. I'm thinking about the next time I have to go to the grocery store and pay $200 and look down and see that I got a bag and a half of groceries. And so, you know, we need to be there for our members during these tough economic times. You know, people are seeing interest rates increase. People are looking to their financial institution in ways they never have before. And fundamentally, I think we are here, you know, to honor the history of Vancity, to say, how do we show up in this time? It's looking to the broad crises of the day that members, I think, really expect us to address. And it means meeting you today and having your back at a time when you need it the most.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's a perfect segue. How do you feel about the atmosphere of credit unions in Canada?
Man, I couldn't be more optimistic. I think, listen, it's challenging times to run a small or medium-sized financial institution. The interest rate environment, the inverted yield curve, a lot of things, what we're seeing is that smaller credit unions are facing challenges. But, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of innovation that is helping those get through. I think there's a lot of cooperation that's getting those through in the system. And I think, you know, as we come through and stabilize to a less volatile environment, you know, I'm feeling really optimistic about the future of the credit union system. And it's for the exact reason that we just talked about. You know, what is a credit union? Credit union is a financial system, a financial institution that is of its community. You know, the people who own it are the people who live in the community and are the people who work there. And, you know, I think that when people, as we've said, people are looking to their financial institution now more than ever. And when you walk in the doors of your financial institution, do you want someone who deeply understands who you are, where you live, and what matters to you? mean, that is a credit union at its essence. You know, it's funny, during the pandemic, and when the federal government was using the financial sector to push supports into communities, they initially did not tap the credit union sector. And it was because, I mean, you know, for good reason. They were moving at breakneck speed, and they knew, you know, the banks were there. They talked to us, and they talked to Desjardins. And a funny thing happened, because we were trying to figure out, how do we scale this and allow other credit unions to be at the table. And the Canadian Credit Union Association came to the table. There's a bunch of people trying to figure out how to do this, how to kind of get credit unions installed. And then all of a sudden, government turned around and said, hey, wait a second. We can't reach a bunch of communities in this country because they're not served by banks. And so all of a sudden, credit unions were seen as a critical way of connecting the national supports with the communities that credit unions uniquely serve. And I think it's such a great metaphor for the strength of credit unions across this country and communities across this country. And I think that you know, it's a challenging environment, and I think that credit unions are doing an amazing job to make it through. But I think that on the other side of that equation, credit unions are also doing an amazing job in supporting members and communities across this country.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for your leadership, as always, and for being so clear and concise in terms of the message around the movement that is credit unions, as you mentioned, for 76 years in this country. So we appreciate you. So my last question, do you have any calls to action or closing thoughts for our listeners and our viewers?
I mean, again, thanks to you for everything you do and for creating this opportunity. I really think that the work you do is essential and amazing. I think in terms of a call to action, Victor, you know, I think that you know, we are going through, I think, a period of awakening and transition. I think the pandemic, we saw how people can come together in common purpose and then quickly pull apart into you know, their own sense of what matters and what's important. And I think we've all now had an ability to look at the economy we have and dream about the economy that we want and that we deserve. And I think that, you know, for anyone who's watching, if that resonates for you, you look at the economy that we have today and say, we can do better. I would say you can help. I would say that means looking for cooperatives to support, organizations that are really grown from community need and driven by community benefit. And find those values-based organizations to support, the ones that really resonate with your purpose. And I think that that's the way, by voting with your dollars and by supporting organizations that reflect who you want to be and who you want us to become. I think we can really affect a pretty broad systemic change, because you know, where people shop, bank, and invest, that matters a lot, and it has the power to change things in a hurry.
Indeed. Jonathan, always a pleasure, always a great joy to be able to build and reason with you and center the work that Vancity's been doing for so many years, the work of justice, access, inclusion, diversity, and equity. And I just give thanks for all that you do for so many. And as always, at SETC, we close the way we began, by acknowledging our creator, by acknowledging all the original stewards of the various lands around. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders